Hey there, it's Brittany Chavers, and I am back with Jessie Jane's Beads today, and we are going to be making a wonderful pair of earrings, actually 2 pairs of earrings, and a fun beaded bracelet using the new Artemis Goddess bead mix. I'm super excited about this. Some really fun chunky beads in this mix. We're going to start with the easiest item, which is a simple pair of earrings. We're going to use this fabric tassel and this wonderful crystal hexagon that's like a rose gold color. I cut a length of 20 gauge craft wire in gold, and I'm just going to do a wire wrapped loop at the bottom, and we just grab about 1.5 inches in from the wire and twist around one of our mandrels on a round nose plier and create a loop. I'm going to slip that right into the loop that's on my tassel, and then I'm going to secure that by grabbing the loop with my flat nose pliers and coming around with the tail around our main part of our wire. I'm just going to do that twice. We'll go ahead and snip off the excess wire and slip our bead onto our main wire. So that's what our earring will look like. Isn't that just so fun? Perfect for any type of party. Year round, I think. And then I'm just going to do another wire wrapped loop at the top. Now this one's going to be a little bit messier than the original one. We just did a simple two wrap at the bottom, but I want this top part to be messy. That's why I cut an extra length of my wire. So I'm going to come down towards my bead and then back up a little bit, and that's going to create some texture at the top. And I just love a messy wrap. Love how that looks, and would go really nice with a messy bun, I think. So I just snipped off the excess wire off the back. I'm gonna take my ear wire, open that up, and slip on my bead and close it. And you have less than a 5-minute pair of earrings. Quick and easy. So that's one pair, but it's so beautiful and shiny and elegant with those petals on our flowers. All right, our next pair of earrings is going to be a little bit more intermediate to advanced. From the mix, I pulled out 3 of these little teardrop briolette beads. I grabbed a bead cap, that's a flower, one of our large hole Shambhala beads, and a cube. We're going to set these 3 apart for now, and then I also grabbed some chain reaction from Jessie Jane's Beads, and I cut it apart to just include the metal pieces. So we have 3 pieces that should be pretty similar to each other. For a pair of earrings, you'll need 6, and that was 1 length of the chain reaction. Okay, I have some 24 gauge artistic wire. And I'm going to do this 3 times, but I'm only going to show you once. I'm going to cut off a piece of artistic wire, thread on one of my briolettes, and then we'll take that smaller piece. We're just going to put it in a little bit. Take that smaller piece, bring both pieces up, and wrap that smaller piece right around the larger piece. We want to make sure that they're pretty snug to the top of the bead. Now this will move back and forth. You're just going to have to secure it with your fingers or your pliers while we're wire wrapping in just a moment here. All right, so we just want that to get secured. I'm going to cut off the rest of this little tiny tail. Then I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to do a loop. But before we start wrapping down toward our bead, I am going to take one of my pieces of chain and secure that on by putting the jump ring on the wire, moving it down to our loop and letting it hang. And then I'm going to grab onto my loop, making sure that the wires or the chain is in there, and I'm going to start wrapping down towards my briolette. So we see that the briolette's at a weird angle there. That's okay. This is when we start holding it in place with our hand and start wrapping on to the briolette to keep that more in place and in alignment with the top of our bead. So now we see we have some gaps. That's where we're going to just start filling in with a lot of the wire. That's why the wire was a pretty long piece. I'm going to hold this and go back up. Just take your time. Finagle it however you need to get it to look the way to get it to look the way you'd like it to look. And you'll just have to keep moving that chain back and forth. And I'm going to come back down. Here we go. And then once it gets the way you want it, that's fine for me. I'm just going to trim my wire in the back. And then we're going to do that 2 more times. Okay, I have all 3 of my pieces wire wrapped onto my chain, and I have some artistic wire in 22 gauge. I am just going to cut a little piece, and I'm going to do a larger wire wrapped loop right here. So I'm going to move it towards the back of my mandrel and make that loop. But before I finish it, I'm going to take my first piece of chain and slip it on. Okay, and that one we're leaving that length. Then the next piece of chain, I'm just going to cut off the top connector, and I'm cutting off at the connector and leaving the jump ring on. And then I will go ahead and slide that onto my chain as well, or onto my loop as well. And then next, I'm going to take the last one and cut off the 2 top connectors, not just the first one. And again, I'm going to cut the connector itself, not the jump ring. And then I'm going to slide that one onto my wire like that. So we have a tiered look going on here. Next, I'm going to just wire wrap that closed by holding on to my loop and wrapping just a couple times around this. We're not even going to see this. It doesn't really matter how messy it looks and how many wraps you have, as long as it's secure. Next, I'm going to take my flower petal bead cap, slide that down so it's hanging above our drops, and then I'm going to take my Shambhala bead, slide that on next, and then my cube. And then we're fitting that cube right into that Shambhala bead, and then I'm going to do a wire wrap at the top. It's going to be slightly messy, but not too messy, because we're going to actually end up wrapping it down toward and around the cube itself. So I'll show you what I mean. Just making sure that our cube is in place. We're going to start swinging around our wire. I'm going to go a couple times here, and then as you can see, it starts naturally like resting on the cube, and we're just going to let that create itself into almost like a bead cap on top of that cube. And you can do as much as you want. I'm just going to do a few wraps down like that, and then I'm going to snip off in the back, and that's what that looks like. And then we'll get a we want to tuck in that little wire there. There we go. And then I'm going to put that on an ear wire. Swing that open, put on our loop, and then swing it back closed. And we have a pair of glittery shoulder dusters. These are pretty long, but perfect for anything that you want to glitz and glam yourself up for. Look at all the sparkles. Ah, love them. All right, last but not least, we're going to create a simple wire wrapped bracelet. So this really fun rose quartz gemstone pieces in the mix. I think you get 2 in there. And then we're just going to wire wrap these together with other beads that were in the mix. We have some crystals, some metal beads, some glass beads, and I am just going to wire wrap those together using my 22 gauge wire. So we have a little piece here. I'll just start it by wire wrapping onto one side of my connector. And I'm just going to do 2 little wraps for each side of each bead. You can do messy, you can do simple loops if you have eye pins, whatever you'd like. You just snip that off. And then I'll put on my next bead. And then I'll just wire wrap that closed. Just doing 2, 1 and 2. And then we'll snip. I am going to repeat that action for every single bead you see before you, and then I'll show you how to put the clasp on. Okay, here is our finished connected beaded chain, basically for now, until we turn it into a bracelet. We're just going to, I have 2 jump rings and a clasp from Jessie James Beads, and I'm just going to connect everything. So I'll take a jump ring, open that up, slide that through our last bead, and then one of our parts of our toggle clasp. You can use whatever type of clasp you like. I prefer toggles for bracelets. They're easy to do one-handed. And then we'll just do the exact same thing on the other side. This is a great technique if you have beaded chain and you want to make a quick bracelet, just add a toggle. We made our own beaded chain today though. And close that up. And here is our bracelet. Super cute. We've got a fantastic focal, although all these beads are so pretty, you can wear any part of it on top of your wrist. So we made a bracelet and 2 really fun pairs of earrings. And we have a really dressy pair of fabric tassel earrings. Thanks so much for joining me today. Thanks for Jessie James Beads for having me back, and I will see you next time. Have a good one. Bye-bye.